Yeah, so
So
before you show the trade, can you show us? Can you explain the tools that you're using here? Because
yeah,
most
yeah,
of these I
perfect.
recognize, but some of them I don't.
Yeah. Okay, so uh, first off, the Rainbow Trends. This is the basic tool, right? This is the main tool. I don't know what you call it, runner.
Main
Um,
indicator.
the main indicator. I also use the Molly. Is it the Molly pivot tool? The
Mm-hmm.
that you see these little vertical green red bands. The main indicator again outlines the pivots, and these pivots typically align with vector candles. Again, for my technical trading, like where certain key support um, occurs and resistance occurs. So green typically means, and correct me if I'm wrong, runners. So I mean, I know the tool, but like if you want to elaborate on where I could get some more detail, but I typically use the green as support and the red pivots as resistance.
Yeah, and that's how they're
Right.
designed. It's actually two algorithms. One is tuned for bottoms, and one of them's
Right.
tuned for tops. And the green, and they're about 80% accurate. So in general,
Yeah.
the greens are typically supporting the reds, or
Yeah.
typically, I'm sorry, opposites, and the reds are tops.
Right. So that's the first. That's the kind of the first thing that I see are like, where am I? So stepping back a little bit when I trade, where am I in the cycle, like the macro cycle? And I truly believe we're in an overall bullish cycle. So higher chances that uh, uh, long trades will have a better success than short trades. Number two, where am I in the weekly cycle? So um, I don't know if you guys know, but there are certain weekly rhythms to the market. Uh, Sometimes there's a early Monday gap up or gap down, and it typically the markets reverse on Tuesdays and then on Thursdays. So
You sound
the way
just like Nexus. Nexus cares about the Monday auction.
oh yeah, Monday
Loves
is
it.
so critical. Typically, I don't trade Mondays because there's major reversals. But Tuesdays are reliable. That most of the time it goes opposite of Monday. So just kind of looking into where I am in the cycle. It's important as a trader to know where you are in the cycle of the yearly, the monthly, and the weekly. But today was kind of a reversal day, right? So we had a huge gap down, obviously, yesterday, and in continuation to today. So I was actually looking for these propulsion numbers, the 9 and 13, which is part of the Molly pivot tool. And so when I saw this and it actually hit the liquidations and um, the Molly pivot tool hit a green, which means kind of a buy, I sized in a little bit on Sol. And technically, this area has been, actually 120 was kind of where the major support was, but it fell through. So I was assuming that there's a bottoming process that's happening, considering it hit some liquidation. And also the Molly pivot has these liquidations, these yellow dots are liquidation areas. Um, and so it was a pretty safe entry when we had this, 13 propulsion number and this Molly pivot. And so I think I bought it somewhere around 113, 112. And sure enough, if I wanted to day trade it, that would have been a nice scalp, right? But I'm going to hold on to it. But that's how I kind of enter it. I also use the split volume just to see how much buying and selling there is. Yellow is the selling volume and blue is buying volume. Obviously, there was a lot more selling yesterday. You see this nice big sell volume indicator. I also use the on balance volume mainly at the higher time frames. So if I go to what I discovered today on Bitcoin, if I go to the higher time frame Bitcoin, if you notice, on balance, the volume has been decreasing. The selling volume has been decreasing. So we're almost, we hit even yesterday until it tanked a little bit. But if you notice that, even though we had this huge wick, the on balance volume didn't change all that much in relation to what's happened, in the past few weeks, right? So um, price might be down a lot, but what's indicators that there's good support. on with this tool, it's indicating that like there's not a lot of folks that are actually selling Bitcoin. So this was a nice kind of support area here in this liquidation level in the main tool to tell me like this is also kind of a nice bottoming process that's happening. And also the open interest also kind of is fairly low compared to others. And open interest, I use this down here as the last one, just to kind of gauge how many people are in this market, whether they're short or long.
Is that the default TradingView open interest tool?
I think so, yeah, because it has the little TradingView symbol on it. I think it's just regular open interest by Leviathan, I believe. So that helps me gauge. I'm like, wait a minute, is it burning hot? You know, if your open interest is super high, I don't know if I could show you guys. This was at 9 billion, right? That's typically kind of on the upper range for Bitcoin as far as open interest, and we're like half that right now. So the way I use open interest is just how much are the whales going to liquidate people, right? And how many are participating. Typically, in my experience, when open interest is high is when whales start hunting and start liquidating, and so you're going to get a lot of volatility. And typically, volatility means when you exit a trade. When there's lower volatility and lower open interest is when you start to looking for entries. Also along, coupled with that in confluence with price action, propulsion, again, and day of the week, day of the time of month it's in and whatnot. So that's how I typically trade. And so obviously if I enter here, if it goes lower, there's a support area here, but I'm looking for maybe an exit around here, around this 89K, in this trade. A nice swing trade, guys. I don't really do a lot of scalping or day trading. But that's how I would typically use it as a tool.